I'm going to illustrate the use of the Flute Master tool, and we will see the steps to set it up to begin use, and then how simple it is to cut flutes as we progress. The tool is deceptively simple to set up and use, although it will do something that no other tool will do. It will cut flutes very easily and quickly on both straight and curved profile turnings. It has a base and a mast and a tool holder, and the tool holder can use either a die grinder, which fits into the tool holder, or you can use a Fordham type or wheat shear grinder, which also fits in here. When this is in place, then we have set screws here to hold it in place. And the tool only uses one piece of equipment to do everything, and that is a 3/16 inch hex wrench. I'm using a 1/2 inch core box bit to cut the flutes, and then we have a depth control piece that will determine how deep each flute will be, and it simply fits right here. When setting up your depth control, it can be a little deceptive because the router gauge is impacting your turning at a wider diameter than the rotor bar above it. So it will tend to cut deeper than you think it will by looking at it. So initially, I suggest setting it up for a shallow cut. After you've done that initially, if you feel that you want to deepen the cut, then adjust your cutting bar back further away from the end of the router bit. I would like all of my flutes on this project to begin about this point and end at about this point. So I need stop blocks that will limit the travel. So these are simple little pieces of wood that you can make in your shop in a couple of minutes. And I'll set one so that it causes my flute to begin at this point, and then as I move the tool around, I want to keep it at a 90-degree angle to the workpiece, and my stop block will stop me at this point. That way all the flutes will be uniform. To index the cuts, you can either use the index head of your lathe. In this case, this lathe has an index head which is a little slow and cumbersome, so I'm using an index wheel, which you can purchase inexpensively. If you're using an index wheel, you need to set up a pin that will lock the piece in your index head. And I made a little wooden setup here, drilled a hole, put a 10D nail that goes into the pin of the index wheel, and I used a 3/8 inch dowel to move the pin in and out. But you can make anything you like as long as it will lock your piece into the index wheel. It isn't necessary, but I found a nice convenience is to have a foot pedal that turns your tool on and off because you're using both hands on the Flute Master. I am planning to put 18 flutes around this vase, and it's not necessary, but I think it's good practice to mark each flute beforehand so that as you turn your index wheel, you're sure that you have moved the index to the right point for each flute. It's important to keep your right hand on the outside edge of the flute cutter and hold it down flat against the base. If you allow the flute cutter to float up and down, your flutes will be irregular. I'm going to do a dry run without the engine running to make sure that I'm set up properly and that I'm going to get the cut that I want to start and stop where I want it. Now then, I'll turn on the cutter and I'll make a trial run to see if I have the depth where I want it. After each cut, I use my index wheel to move it to the next location. Now I'm ready for the next flute. As you can see, it's only taken us just a quick few moments to cut the 18 flutes around this turning. I hope you've enjoyed this demonstration and use of the tool, and that it will add greatly to your turning enjoyment and the beauty of the things that you produce.